The wind here in Myrtle Beach isn't coming from the ocean this way, it's actually coming from mainland toward the ocean. And if we pan up here to the palmetto trees, the damage didn't just stop here with this awning. If you'll follow me around the corner here, I'll show you. Hey Patsy, well so far so good. They've had a really good turnout here at this blood drive in Myrtle Beach. You can see back here. They also have today some t-shirts, these long sleeve special edition winter t-shirts. I'll actually take you this way. You can see down here just a few tree limbs. I'm gonna ask this lady here if she is still without power. Do you guys have power at this point? No power. It's been out for about an hour? Does that sound right? Okay, yeah, so he's confirming there that there's no power here. So the guys are hosting a fundraiser soccer tournament. The fields are all prepped. Now they're just hoping for a big crowd. The IRS estimates more than 70% of people will be getting some sort of tax return. Right here behind me you can see this is at 49th Avenue North. That's the condition out here in the North Myrtle Beach area in Cherry Grove. I'm Brandon Herring, News 13. I'm Brandon Herring, live in Georgetown, News 13. Bryce and Alex Sabota's dream of helping less fortunate soccer players in other countries began on a trip to Costa Rica in 2016. That's when they met a kid named Pedro.
They played in the streets, a lot of times barefoot. He was looking at our cleats and just looked amazed by them. So we figured that if we realized how many other people across the world, not just in Costa Rica, we could help out by doing it.
So Project Golden Goal was born. Last year, they collected used cleats, socks, shin guards, shorts, and jerseys, and they sent them to Cameroon and Zimbabwe.
And they actually had a Beach United labeled team with all the jerseys we sent. We've got probably 1,200 pieces of equipment ready to go out, so enough for 2 or 3 shipments.
But shipping and dealing with customs costs hundreds of dollars each time.
It is the only real cost, honestly, that and paying for customs.
So the guys are hosting a fundraiser soccer tournament. The fields are all prepped. Now they're just hoping for a big crowd.
This tournament is really vital. I mean, we don't have enough funds to even send the next shipment. This fundraiser is really going to make sure that can happen.
They hope continued support from their soccer club, Beach United, and other players will keep their dream alive.
The fact that they're doing this, it shows that their parents, our club, Beach United, we've done a good job, raising these boys.
I never really thought it would get this big, so now that we see that we've actually been making a difference, it's a good feeling.
In Myrtle Beach, Brandon Herring, News 13.
Trying to save homes and businesses.
It was just 2 months ago when people in Lumberton frantically worked to build a sandbag mound and temporary berm just before Hurricane Florence moved in.
We're trying to sandbag this opening up.
23 months earlier, Hurricane Matthew taught people in Lumberton that if the Lumber River gets high enough, it can flow into West and South Lumberton through a gap in the city's levee. The levee is this raised earthen mound that was finished in 1977, and for the most part, it's done its job. When the Lumber River floods, the levee has kept that water from spilling toward neighborhoods. It stretches from Alamac Road to the backside of Luther Britt Park, and the elevation of I-95 is part of that levee system too. It's here where the CSX railroad tracks and that local street called VFW Road pass under the interstate, creating a gap in the levee. And this is where water can pass through if floodwaters from the Lumber River are extremely high. It's only happened after Hurricane Matthew and Hurricane Florence.
We had to emergency evacuate. The water was coming through here like a river.
I could stand out there at 5th Street and just, see it coming across.
It got up way up to the windows, and it's just a bad situation.
Flooding hit hard in West Lumberton. People here have heard there's now a plan to build floodgates in the levee gap over the railroad tracks in the street, something Jonathan Butler fully supports in case there's another big rain event.
Without the floodgate here, it's just going to wipe this community out again and again and again and again.
A state report published in May indicates a plan to plug the gap was part of the original plan for the levee drawn up in the 60s. A 10-foot wide earthen dike was to have been constructed in the area, though the improvements never made. Not during construction in the 70s and not 3 decades later when Matthew hit. The flooding Matthew brought was a wake-up call, prompting city leaders to pick up the plan for floodgates. But it took nearly 2 years just to find money to move forward. With no floodgates in place before Florence, sandbagging was the backup. Floodwaters from the Lumber River eventually made their way through again, though.
There's nowhere for the water to go but through there.
Despite some concerns, the CSX may have held up the sandbagging or even been unresponsive to the floodgate plan. Several city leaders now tell me CSX supports the plan and is cooperating.
That is great. West Lumberton hopes that the city of Lumberton can work with CSX to get this done for us. Without the floodgate, we don't have a chance.
Maybe to keep the water out of my house. I won't have to keep running every time a hurricane season comes. But I hope it don't affect the other side of town. I really do.
With concerns like that in mind, there are plans for an extensive study into how the floodgates could affect the area. There's already debate about whether the sandbagging before Florence helped some areas while hurting others. That's now the center of nearly 30 lawsuits, which is why no city leaders would speak to me on camera for this story. The floodgate plan is moving forward, though, and it's expected to be completed in about 2 years. Reporting for News 13, I'm Brandon Herring.
Charities, right?
Yeah, and we wanted to know when there are local agencies like that, there are local governments, rescue squads, any public agency, well, they have clearly published contact information. So how is it that money doesn't get to them? And is anything being done to get that money to the right place? Well, here's what I learned. The Johnsonville Rescue Squad has been at this spot on East Broadway Street for about 48 years, but even still, some people can't get the mailing address right. That's because mail needs to go to the squad's post office box. If not,
the post office send it back, and that's probably what happened in this case.
This case is how 2 insurance payments to the squad ended up in the state's unclaimed cash fund. We shared the total amount with Chief Tom Redmond.
$182.95 and $537.48.
What do you think about that?
I think it's great. We'll apply for it.
Together, just those 2 amounts, $720 and some change.
And that will pay our diesel bill normally for a month.
Chief Redmond says he could also put that money towards supplies. For example, he could buy about 13 shots of Narcan and likely save 13 people from heroin overdoses. But the Johnsonville Rescue Squad certainly isn't an isolated case. A simple search shows various departments in Florence County could have more than $3,500 in unclaimed money. The city of Florence, nearly $1,100. Various departments in Horry County could have more than $7,400 in unclaimed money, and the city of Myrtle Beach may be due more than $1,200. Treasurer Curtis Loftus says the reasons money sometimes doesn't get to people are the same reasons money doesn't get to those local governments and other agencies.
Most of the time it's a bad address or it's a bad mailman. It could be the homeowner or the business owner has moved themselves. It could be bad word processing. They transposed an address or put a wrong zip code.
The Murrells Inlet Garden City Fire Department is another public agency with unclaimed money. There you guys are.
All right. Yeah, we can buy something with that.
Nearly $1,000 for the department has been sitting in the state's unclaimed fund since 2008 when a bank turned it in. Chief Norman Knight can only guess that it's money left from when the rescue squad dissolved into the fire department.
We'll certainly proceed with seeing about getting the money. And of course, we're listed here twice. At the end of the day, we could be looking at a total here of looks like about $1,200.
If a business or an individual holds money for someone else owns that money, that holder has the affirmative responsibility, a legal responsibility to find that owner, and if they can't, they send it to the state, and then we try to find that owner.
Do you even know if they made an attempt?
I didn't get the phone call, and if they got it here at the squad, they'd tell them to contact me. And so I'm not aware of any phone calls coming in.
But Loftus says more people are at least turning in money to the state's unclaimed property fund. Its continued growth is proof. He and his staff of 17 do cross-reference and track down why some of the money didn't make it to the rightful owner. But even when the rightful owner is a local government or well-established public agency with obvious contact info, they can't possibly figure out the issue with every case.
Everybody can do better. It's my job and my office's job to get out and make sure more people are aware.
Now that Chief Redmond is aware, he's wasting no time claiming his squad's money.
This week will not go out until we apply for that money.
And you heard Treasurer Loftus there in that story on the phone talk a little bit about getting out there and letting people know how the money is available to them. Obviously, he joins us live here in our studio tonight because we're doing a phone bank, a live phone bank. You can see right here behind us people taking your calls. The number, if you'd like to call in and see if you're owed any money, 843-294-8432. Again, 843-294-8432. 8432. We've been kind of busy here, Treasurer, and you guys have also done in your office a little more than phone banks. This is a major part of getting the word out, but you've also done some efforts in trying to get some insurance payments to people a little more proactively.
That's right. You know, we have.
Thank you again. We appreciate it. Live in the newsroom, I'm Brandon Herring, News 13.